Today on Newsgirls, Trump wants you to Venmo pay the debt.
It would cost each American a $100,000 Venmo.
The EPA is basically getting rid of all regulations on greenhouse gases. Controversial $10,000 lifelike dolls, and these parents take them out in strollers.
This was the very first doll I bought.
We understand they're even outlawed in some countries.
And meet GenZ's office etiquette coach.
How to dress, email, even manage their hygiene.
The top ones are tardiness.
What is the weirdest topic that you have to deal with?
Hey everyone, welcome back to Newsgirls.
I'm Wren.
And I'm Mabel.
Let's get into the stories. Well, for the past few weeks, Trump has been doing everything he can to distract us from the Epstein files. And today he's getting his wish, because there is a lot of other stuff we need to get into.
So of course, it's finally time for another installment of Trumpdates.
Trump is asking people to Venmo the government to pay off the national debt. So his Treasury Department unveiled a website called Gifts to Reduce the Public Debt, and citizens can donate via bank account, debit or credit card, or Venmo and PayPal accounts.
I was so shocked when I saw this story because what individual would feel so passionate to contribute to ending the national debt? I don't understand, especially because it sits at an insane $36.7 trillion. It would cost each American a $100,000 Venmo to help pay it off.
Right, the average citizen can barely make a difference. Even if Elon, the richest person in the world, donated all of his money, it would be a drop in the bucket.
And even though this weird initiative makes it seem like Trump is really prioritizing reducing the national debt, we can't forget that he is really massively contributing to it. His big, beautiful bill is projected to add $3.4 trillion to the debt.
And we looked into how these donations work, and according to the IRS, they are considered a tax-deductible charitable donation. But what's funny about that, so you take it out of your taxes, but taxes are what help make up for the deficit in the first place. So I guess if you feel so strongly you want your money to go only to the federal debt and not to any other social programs, you could do this.
Trump has increasingly been blurring the lines between church and state. We're sure you all saw that last week. His administration told federal workers that they can talk about religion at work, including by trying to, quote, persuade others of the correctness of their own religious views.
And they gave some helpful pointers about how to do it. So they said during a break, an employee may engage another in a polite discussion about why his faith is correct and why the non-adherent should rethink his religious beliefs. And I mean, who doesn't love when their coworker comes up and gives them unsolicited advice?
And this was sent to the heads of all federal agencies in a 5-page memo. So one of the examples says a Veterans Affairs doctor can pray over their patients. Park rangers for the National Park Service can join their tour groups in prayer. And this is, of course, just the latest in a series of directives by Trump to infuse more religion into the government.
Right. Just a month ago, the IRS said houses of worship can now endorse political candidates without losing their tax-exempt status. So that was a huge departure.
Yeah, this was something that was really important to Trump during his first term. So he had promised to get rid of the Johnson Amendment, which is this provision in the tax code that basically says that houses of worship and nonprofits can't endorse political candidates. He had said to Christian leaders while he was campaigning in October that the U.S. would be better if they were more powerful. So it looks like, getting rid of this provision is really helping them do that.
And we cannot forget that he created the White House Faith Office to, quote, assist faith-based entities, community organizations, and houses of worship in their efforts to strengthen American families, promote work and self-sufficiency, and protect religious liberty. And he appointed his personal minister, Paula White Cain, to lead it.
Angels are being released right now. Angels are being dispatched right now. Hamanda aka ata raka teda baka sanda ata ambo osa kata rite eke banda ata rike didi ashata. For angels have even been dispatched from Africa right now. Africa right now. Africa right now. From Africa right now.
So Paula is questionable in many more ways than one. The Senate found that her ministry was misusing charitable tax-exempt funds. Apparently, they were used to pay salaries for extended family members, own and operate private jets, and pay for down payments on a mansion in Tampa, and of course, a $3.5 million condo in Trump Tower in New York City.
The Trump administration wants to rescind virtually all climate regulations in one fell swoop. The EPA is basically getting rid of all regulations on greenhouse gases, which will make it hard or even impossible for the government to regulate pollution from cars, factories, and power plants.
And so, of course, this is getting a lot of criticism. The EPA administrator Senator himself said that the proposal, if finalized, would amount to the largest deregulatory action in the history of the United States. But Trump is still moving to repeal the endangerment finding, which was put in place in 2009, and basically found that greenhouse gases pose a threat to human health, which seems so obvious to us now. But this finding is what established the legal basis to regulate greenhouse gases under the Clean Air Act.
Yeah, they're essentially saying they no longer think greenhouse gases are harmful to our health. And people have likened it to a doctor telling someone, we no longer think smoking causes cancer, so we're going to stop all anti-smoking campaigns and regulations.
Right. Renowned climate scientist Michael Mann even said that this regulation has been the primary tool that we've had to regulate carbon emissions and meet our obligations under various global agreements to address the climate crisis.
So now the proposed revision will undergo a 45-day comment period when the general public can weigh in on it, but it's sure to be hit with so many legal challenges if and when it goes into effect, because a lot of the justification relies on climate denialism.
So I kept Wren in the dark a little bit for this next story so that we could all see her live reaction.
Oh no.
So Wren, did you hear about this website called the Panama Playlists that have found what JD Vance and other Trump officials listen to on Spotify?
Well, yes, you told me that they released these playlists, but you wouldn't tell me what's on them.
Yes, so let's go through them because honestly, it's surprising. So they found that JD Vance has a cooking playlist, and on it is Justin Bieber's One Time and the Backstreet Boys' I Want It That Way in rotation.
Wow. Okay, so he likes the teeny bopper, like male heartthrobs. You know, I did too when I was a 12-year-old girl.
Then they found that U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi jams out to Nelly's Hot in Here and quite a few Selena Gomez songs like Kill 'Em With Kindness and Hands to Myself.
Honestly, that's spicier than I expected from her.
And then Florida Governor Ron DeSantis apparently streams Miley Cyrus's Party in the USA.
Oh, I wonder if he signed that petition to make it the official national anthem.
And then White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt appears to enjoy Cyndi Lauper's Girls Just Want to Have Fun.
That is the exact brand of woman that I would expect her to be.
And so Panama Playlist says that they've been scraping their accounts, like their playlists, their live listening feeds, how often they listen to each song since summer 2024. And obviously it's hard to verify because it's not like JD Vance is going to admit to listening to Justin Bieber while cooking. But reporters cross-referenced their own listening habits with the site and said that it's accurate.
And obviously this is funny information, but it is terrifying that we can just know this. This is all publicly available. And I know that Spotify playlists are default public and you actually have to go out of your way to make them private. So I guess if you're in the public eye, you just have to be conscious of every single platform to keep your privacy. It's honestly lucky there's not more embarrassing things. Like imagine like if Vance had a sex playlist or something.
Ugh, I did not need that vision of like JD Vance getting steamy with a couch.
Watch. Imagine getting the day off work for Trump's birthday, receiving a $100 bill with Trump's face on it, landing at Donald J. Trump Airport near DC, and taking in a show at the Donald J. Trump Center for the Arts. Because all of those are possible through bills that Republicans have proposed.
Yeah, Republicans really seem to be like kissing up to Trump because there's literally a bill called Make Entertainment Great Again that proposes renaming the Kennedy Center for Trump. And of course, we've all heard that Republicans want to rename the Kennedy Opera House for Melania. They even passed an amendment slipping it into the Kennedy funding bill. Like, I don't know why they don't just make something for themselves. Like, why do they have to change that?
Well, the rep who authored the bill said you would be hard-pressed to find a more significant cultural icon in the past 40 years than President Trump. President Trump's love and mastery of entertainment has stood the test of time and allowed him to capture Americans' attention for decades. But former board members are now speaking out, saying that renaming any part of the Kennedy Center would go against the laws under which it was created. So we'll see if the guardrails hold on this one.
Another truly crazy thing we've seen is that lawmakers are proposing to carve Trump's face into Mount Rushmore. So apparently during his first term, he told Kristi Noem that it was his dream. And she actually gave him this like $1,000 model of Rushmore with his face on it. And I guess these talks are ongoing because in March, the Interior Secretary said, quote, they definitely have room for Trump.
Yeah, the New York Times made this really cool interactive article showing where maybe it would be possible to even put Trump and if it's feasible. But the Park Service did release a contradictory statement saying the carved portion of Mount Rushmore has been thoroughly evaluated and there are no viable locations left for additional carvings. So who knows? But I personally think we're spending a little too much time on the could they do it and not enough on the should they do it.
So Trump's new tariffs go into effect today. He set new rates for every country around the world, and they're the highest tariff rates in a century. And reportedly, these increases will cost the average family an extra $2,400 annually.
If you remember, these tariffs were supposed to go into effect in April Liberation Day, but then Trump delayed them, saying he would make 90 deals with 90 countries in 90 days or whatever. But ultimately, he only managed to close a handful of deals.
So as of now, the universal tariff for goods that are coming into the U.S. will stay at 10%, but that 10% only applies to countries with which the U.S. has a trade surplus, so countries to which the U.S. exports more than it imports.
So 15% becomes the new tariff floor for countries with which the US has a trade deficit. So that's about 40 countries. And 26 countries have tariff rates that are higher than 15%, actually up to 50%.
And then everyone's, of course, wondering, like, what about China? What's going to happen with them? Well, there's an existing trade agreement right now that expires in 2 weeks, and everyone's expecting those rates to go even up, so we'll see what happens with that.
And while this is all going into effect, we still don't even know if this is legal because the Court of International Trade found that Trump overreached his authority by imposing country-specific tariffs without congressional approval.
Yeah, so Trump has been justifying this by citing the International Emergency Economics Powers Act, basically saying he can levy tariffs whenever he wants by declaring an economic emergency. And so a panel of judges are actually hearing arguments for the administration's appeal, but it seems like they aren't really buying it because the U.S. isn't in an economic state of emergency.
Well, I didn't realize until this administration that presidents can just declare emergencies without any concrete proof. Like he did this also with immigration to skirt the normal deportation process. It's kind of giving Michael Scott.
I declare bankruptcy!
Hey, I just wanted you to know that you can't just say the word bankruptcy and expect anything to happen.
I didn't say it, I declared it.
Still.
So Labubus have been the hot, new, unexpected trend this summer. And if you haven't heard of them, they're these plush dolls and charms that you can attach to like your bag or your belt. And even though I will not partake in this trend, I've seen so many people with them.
Yeah, they're kind of creepy looking monsters. They're known for their mischievous grins and pointy teeth, and they come in every color you can imagine, but they're not these like cute stuffed animals.
And they're not just for like the hoi polloi, they're on these celebrities' designer bags. So we've seen them like on Dua Lipa's bags, Lady Gaga, Rihanna, Cher, Simone Biles, so really just everyone.
And even though they're all the rage with Gen Z, people of all ages are embracing them. Full-grown adults partake in kind of a juvenile trend. Even the name, Labubu, sounds juvenile.
Well, things in the doll world get a lot weirder. So my dad sent me this article about Reborn dolls, which is apparently this global phenomenon that we had never heard of. So they're collectible dolls that look exactly like newborn babies. So the people who buy them call themselves parents. They collect dozens of these dolls, each of which can cost up to $10,000.
Morning routine of taking care of my 8 reborns. So first I get everyone at the table, put them in their high chairs, and get everyone sat down for breakfast. And this morning I'm making blueberry pancakes for everyone. While the pancakes are cooking, I'm going to give Adam and Michael their bottles.
Today I brought my reborn doll Atlas with me to the Sea Life Aquarium. We met up at iCafe de Paris with all our reborn dolls to catch up. We meet up about once a month, and we have been friends for quite a long time.
She is all dressed, and we're going to put some socks on her. Now I just need to brush Sage's hair and get her in her car seat. We're going to get this big girl in the car seat and make her look realistic. Even though she's fake, we're still going to promote car seat safety. There we go. I like to tilt her head to the side and add something like a pacifier and a pacifier clip to add to the realism.
No, it's actually eerie how realistic they look. And these parents take them out in strollers on walks or to theme parks. And honestly, if you pass one on the street, you wouldn't know that it was a doll. There's actually a quote from a Wall Street Journal article where the reporter told the doll maker that they've never seen someone carrying a reborn before. And the doll maker smiled knowingly and said, "You have."
That's so creepy. And they cost so much because they're really expensive to make. So the best ones are made from silicone and they require quite a bit of artistry. So the makers hand mold the body parts. They paint pale blue veins on the dolls. They put in glass eyes, hand root individual goat or alpaca hairs into their scalps and eyebrows.
And we spoke to the owner of the biggest online reborn marketplace, and he said he works with over 600 artists, and his site sells 60 dolls a day and counting because this phenomenon is only growing. And he told us about the reborn community, that they hold conferences and meetups and they all bring their dolls.
Yeah, like there was this at the Dolls of the World fair in June that there were all these shows and everyone was hanging out with their babies. And there were these vendors there that sold accessories like perfume for the reborns to smell like real babies.
But we should mention there are therapeutic uses to the dolls, like women who have suffered miscarriages say having reborns helps them heal and grieve their loss. Britney Spears, who has said she has a miscarriage, has been seen carrying a doll. But most members of this community are just people who love babies.
And they've gotten a lot of criticism from the outside world. So these collectors have said that they get threats daily online from people saying that they'll kill them and their baby. So people are really like passionately angry about these reborns. And they've caused some political controversy as well. They're huge in Brazil. Like it's like the hot new thing. And politicians have introduced 30 bills trying to ban them from public places.
And they're using extreme cases to back this up. Like there's a Brazilian woman who showed up at the hospital to seek treatment for her doll. She posted a video on social media that has 16 million views, and you can see her packing formula for the doll and getting the doll weighed in the hospital, and then she feeds it and like a computer generated face snaps on for it to eat, and then it goes back to a doll. It is creepy.
And so this controversy has been going on for a while in Brazil, and it reached a really disturbing peak on June 6th when a man slapped a real 4-month-old baby on the head because he thought it was a reborn.
That is insane. Like obviously most reborn collectors are not this crazy. They just like to collect these dolls and have them in their home. We had to confront our own internal conflicts and kind of preconceived notion about adults that play with dolls, because on one hand, it can be a totally harmless hobby that only impacts the person who's partaking in it. But there is an unavoidable weirdness for some reason when we think about adults doing this.
Yeah, like we've talked about, why does this feel different than people just collecting and playing with action figures? And maybe it's unfair, but there is this stigma that's associated with like women and dolls. Like there's all these scary movies about creepy dolls coming to life and unhinged women that are treating their dolls like real babies. Seeing these extreme situations with people and their reborns does seem to like trigger something in people.
So we spoke to Marguerite Sheen, who's a reborn doll artist and collector, to learn more about what drew her to reborns, why she's willing to spend thousands of dollars on them, and what she says are misconceptions about the community.
So can you tell us about when you first heard about reborns and what really drew you to them?
Well, the first time I think I was just scrolling online on YouTube. It was before TikTok and everything even existed. And I remember seeing them and being like, whoa, this is weird and cool at the same time, because these dolls look just like babies and they're so hyper realistic. And a few years later, I got married and I got pregnant and I lost a pregnancy. And I remember feeling still as if I was a mother, but there was no baby for me to hold. And I was searching for something that could be an image of what was, but wasn't with me anymore, like something touchable in a way. So I searched for a doll that could look like me and my husband, like a baby of the both of us.
Wow. So how many do you have in your collection now? And are most of them the ones that you made, or do you still buy others? Like how much do reborns cost to buy?
Reborns are very expensive. So let's just get that out of the way. They are very expensive. But I have 3 dolls in my collection that are not mine, and the others are mine. So I have this one. This was the very first doll I bought. Don't be scared. Look, it's like very soft.
Whoa.
And this is a full body silicone doll. So these are the ones that go viral on TikTok and everything. They have like the real belly and everything that you can see.
Whoa.
So they look very, very real. And this one was about 4,000 euros. So,
oh my God.
So that is the most expensive thing I've ever owned. But you must imagine that only painting this doll took the artist 3 months of full-time working. So I have another one in my collection that I didn't make, but I got. And this is like a cheaper doll because you can see the whole body is made from cloth. See? It's called a cuddle body. So it only has like a head. And that's why they are a bit cheaper. But still, you can see all the little veins and the little tiny, the dry lip and everything is painted on.
The details are just crazy.
Yes. And I'm making one right at this moment, and you can see here that with a tiny needle, I put in every hair one by one. Can you see it?
Wow.
And what are the hairs made out of?
This is mohair, which is made from alpaca hair, but sometimes people send me the hair of their babies or of themselves or their sisters, and then I insert the hair of the actual baby that I'm creating.
Yeah, like what makes them so expensive? We're sure the materials that you use to make like the silicone, the eyes, like what drives up the cost of making these babies?
Well, let me show you. You have to see it to be able to understand. Like, they're first made by sculptors. I'm a sculptor too. I'm making a portrait baby like this. And you make like every tiny little detail by hand, just from clay. See?
Wow.
And this one is not finished at all yet. And then it's sent off to a factory who makes the mold.
And how many have you made over the years?
I think now about 25.
Wow.
So that's really a lot.
And can you tell us of your favorite one? Like, do you have a favorite?
Oh, do I have a favorite? Yes, I do have a favorite. This was the first one I made that I thought, oh my goodness, I'm good.
Yeah.
Because it takes time to learn something, right? So I made this little baby, and when I finished him, I thought, or her, I thought like, I'm going to keep this baby as a sign that I'm actually good at this, and maybe I can make this my thing, my job.
And it makes sense why you say they're not dolls. They are art. You obviously actually have a history in art that was so perfect for you to transfer into making reborns.
Exactly. So it kind of bugs me when online all these articles say about women or people walking around with dolls, treating them like they're babies. They're not just dolls. They're first and foremost, they're works of art. They're collectibles. There are people who love the art that buy these dolls.
So say you make a reborn, you buy a reborn, what do you do with them? They are expensive. I'm sure people don't just have them sitting around in their room. We've seen people take them out and do activities with them. What do you do?
Well, on average, most people just have them. You can see I have a little, can you see that? The thing on the wall here. But there are also a lot of people who like to dress them or to take pictures with them, to practice like newborn photography, those kinds of things. And there are also like a lot of reborn meetings. A lot of people who like dolls just come together, take their dolls with them and go on a picnic. Like, for example, not because we think they're real babies, but just because it's fun. It's a hobby, and like we all dress them in the same theme. Some people take them on holidays or ride with them in a stroller. And the fun thing is, some people are like, but maybe doesn't it creep out other people? But when a little baby like that is laying in a stroller, it just looks like you have a baby that is asleep.
There obviously has been a lot of backlash to reborns. We understand they're even like outlawed in some countries. And I guess what people are saying is that there are cases of women kind of blurring the lines between, treating this like a reborn, a piece of art, versus like a real baby. What do you say to that?
I say that there has been research done on this case too, because the dolls look so real, it can be uncanny to some people. Like, ooh, is this normal? Is this crazy? But because there are like maybe the 1% of people put weird things online, that blows up. Online, the hundreds and millions of people who are just normal, they don't go viral. I don't understand the huge amount of hate comments adults get for role playing as an adult. We just forgot how to play, to be creative. And I think it gives a little bit of freedom just for some people to dress their dolls and take them out, go on a walk.
We're glad that you said that, because we haven't seen this discourse when we were doing our research and watching like videos. You're right. It's like the crazy ones taking their reborn to the clinic to get like a checkup because they're sick, or like really like bringing them to life in a way that it sounds like most people are not.
True. Absolutely. Like, I think it's less than even 1% of the people who do that, but those are the people you see online. Most people don't even go online with their dolls. They just have them for themselves and they show them to their friends. Just like when you have a new beautiful artwork or you bought a statue and you love it for yourself.
So Mabel and I are Gen Z millennial cuspers, sometimes called Zillennials, and we have a lot of pride about being able to relate to both generations. But recently we've learned that there is a flaw amongst Gen Z that is becoming more and more apparent that we simply cannot relate to.
Yeah, it looks like Gen Z workers have become legitimately intolerable in the workplace.
Can I get more hours? I need money.
Oh, sure. You can come to work tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow? I'm busy.
Oh, what about Tuesday?
Tuesday, I'm hanging out with my friends.
Excuse me, why are you late?
Oh, funny story. See, I actually did not want to be here today.
Getting real sick and tired of all the accommodations that my Gen Z coworkers need. I swear, every single one of them is like, oh, can I leave work early? I have to go to therapy.
And things have gotten so bad that companies are hiring etiquette managers to teach their Gen Z employees how to dress, email, show up to work on time, even manage their hygiene. Like what?
Yeah, apparently some managers have to reprimand their Gen Z workers because they didn't shower or change their clothes often enough. Others are bringing their mom or dad to job interviews or leaving food wrappers in the break room, assuming the janitor would just clean it up.
So you can see why these coaches are necessary. We actually spoke to one. Her name is Rosalinda Randall. She charges clients, most of which are really big tech firms, up to $2,500 for 90-minute employee workshops, where she covers everything from how to make eye contact with who you're talking to where to stick your name tag. Apparently it's always on the right, and basically how to be a less insufferable Gen Z employee.
Rosalinda, to start off, to give us an idea of like what you're working with, what are the main complaints that you hear about Gen Z workers?
Well, the top ones are tardiness. It isn't, they could be tardy, but it's the attitude about it more so like, okay, well, I'm here, so let's get started. That actually happened to me recently. And I went, but I still need to end at the same time. And they actually said, well, if you'd stop talking about it, we could get started. Oh, no, you didn't. Like, there's the lack of eye contact, uncomfortable on the phone. And I'm sure you've heard of the Gen Z stare. Small talk. You don't like to waste a lot of time on chit chat. So let's just get to the point.
So it's a lot of like social kind of cues, and that's what it seems like.
Yes. And that's what I focus on. And really across the generations, I think the pandemic, even the people who had the social cues and the social skills kind of lost them because we could, even when we did virtual meetings, we could just like disappear for a moment, pet our cat or scratch ourselves and then come back on.
And we know you can't give us too many tips because you got to pay for your services. So pretend we're your clients and you're giving us advice on presenting yourself in the office, like decorum, following like manners, I guess, in the office. What would be like your best advice for doing that?
All right. If I met with you, I think the blanket statement would be enter and take it all in before you start speaking, pointing out, making requests or demands. Just take it in from everyone. Even if you anticipate like, oh yeah, she's old. She's like almost my grandma. She has nothing interesting to say. Perhaps not, but you don't know. The other thing that I heard recently from an inquiry that I've gotten is Gen Zers don't really love a lot of layers of management because one, you can't get to that person. And they like transparency and all of that. Then I would say, look for companies that don't have all those multi-levels. That is more of a traditional style of doing business.
So when it comes to like emails, texting, Slack, we've heard there's like a bit of a gap in how Gen Z goes about doing that. So how would you advise us to do that?
To avoid a lot of the acronyms and emojis and things like that. I just advise, especially initially, if you start a job or a new department or a new position, keep it, I want to say casually formal or casually professional at the start. Don't lose your personality necessarily, but let's just keep it there. And then once you get to establish relationships or they learn about your sense of humor, then potentially introduce them. Because not everyone also is familiar with certain emojis. They may be offended by one or two or misinterpret it, follow your boss's way, their style, because that's who you really want to impress. And if they see that you write differently or a lot more casual, they may second guess putting you on this particular client. I don't think they're ready for it, or that's not what they're showing me. So that's another reason to keep it, just match your boss, match the client, match the person.
What is like the weirdest topic that you have to like deal with that you didn't expect? We saw in an article that you have to kind of give advice on hygiene. I didn't realize that that would even be a topic you'd have to worry about at this age.
Yes, and I want to keep going. The pandemic, and there's going to be a time where we stop blaming the pandemic, but I do think it played a big role, especially those never having worked in an office per se, just coming out of college. And now I'm online. Well, my attire, my hygiene was not important. We meet, once a week or once a day just for a moment, as long as I look kind of semi-clean from up to here. And also, I think the expectations were lowered, well, you're home. Why are you going to put on makeup? So a lot of things changed, and I think we accepted a lot of more casual, informal things that wouldn't have been accepted in the workplace. And it really depends on the industries. I mean, I'm here near the Silicon Valley and the tech industry, and just California especially. So a lot of people feel that if they dress up a little, that just sort of is almost wrong, but dress according to how your boss dresses. I think a lot of employers are afraid, hesitant to bring up some topics for fear of the sensitivity that Gen Zers tend to have. So that's another one where they walk on eggshells. I had one manager said, I don't want my employee wearing a piercing. How do I tell them? And it's like, well, what's your code of conduct say? What's your policies and procedures manual that they signed say? It says no piercings on the ear, on the face. And I said, well, then you need to enforce it. But she goes, I'm afraid. I don't know how they're going to react. So a lot of employers are afraid of you, Gen Zers.
Wow.
We're interested in like certain topics to avoid discussing at the office. Like you had mentioned that there used to be such a boundary between like personal and work, and now that's a little blurred now.
Yes. Like you don't want to say, oh, my boyfriend and I had the craziest time last night. If you do, some people might be interested, but maybe the people around you may not. So I would be careful when it comes to sex, your causes, political beliefs, obviously, the religion. I don't think they're totally off limits. It's how you present it. And if you bring it up as a topic of conversation, not an imposing viewpoint, there are certain things that are better left unsaid. Borrowing money from employees, from coworkers, your personal woes, financial woes, because it could come back to bite you. A lot of, I do a whole thing on friendships in the workplace as well. And sometimes those end and they have all the dirt on you.
Mabel and I met at work and now we're here.
Fast friends like immediately and literally told each other everything and violated everything you said, but it worked out so far.
Yeah,
so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far.
So far.
Well, something else I was wondering about, because it's like the hot topic right now, AI, and how our like Gen Z workers would definitely be way more fluent, I assume, than any other generation in the office using AI. What's the issue with AI right now?
I believe the limited that I've talked to employers about this is it's up to the company to learn how to incorporate it because it's here and everyone's using it. Students are using it. I think as a society, we embrace new things, but then we start fleshing out like, nah, we don't like the speakerphone when we're in the airplane. No, we don't want you to be taking our picture or looking at your phone when we're having a conversation. So that's how these etiquette rules are developed. It's by society, the majority of us feel becomes annoying. So we put these rules down. The similar thing is going to happen with AI. Or what if your boss says, hey, can you write this up? And you don't have AI handy. It's going to reveal how poorly you write because AI is really good. So those are just a few things that I can see could develop into just dilemmas.
Something else that Gen Z workers complain about is that their jobs don't have like this work-life balance. And that's where employers also need your help to kind of be like, okay, you still have to come into the office, you still have to work even if you want balance. So how do you coach people about that?
I think, wow, if you can achieve work-life balance, teach me. I don't think it's possible the entire year to have work-life balance. I don't believe in it. Things come up. Balance is temporary, and it comes in moments, and just enjoy them. And that's how I view it.
Well, that takes us to kind of our wrap-up question, because just to ask the big question with all of your expertise, everyone that you've worked with, are you worried about the future of Gen Z workers in the workforce?
No.
Oh.
I'm really not. Every generation has been like, oh gosh, they want that. Every generation has come in with new ideas and new views, and that's how companies grow and change.
Thanks for tuning in. Make sure to like and subscribe.
Next week, we're seeing Freakier Friday.
Bye.